What's about if I create something of modular, portable, easy to use? A lot of company pay a lot of money to perform hardware penetration tests because it's very difficult to find an expert or to have an expert employee that perform hardware and software penetration tests. Using MakoBox, you can perform all the basic and advanced analysis on hardware penetration tests. Our idea is to create a standard tool for hardware penetration tests.
Hi everyone, I'm Sandy from LAB401.com and welcome. Today I'm really excited to talk with Giuseppe Compare from Mindstorm Security, one of the creators of MakoBox, a powerful new tool in the world of hardware penetration testing. MakoBox is an all-in-one penetration testing platform. It combines multiple interfaces, URT, JTAG, SPI, I2C, eMMC, plus onboard level shifting, logic analysis, automatic firmware dumping, and even AI-driven bootlog analysis. What makes it stand out is its ability to automate basic hardware security tests, helping you work faster and more methodically. And it's built to scale with you, handling more advanced analysis as your need grow. We'll talk about how MakoBox was created, the technical challenges behind it, why automation and AI matter, and how their subscription model keeps the platform evolving with regular updates and new hardware and software features on the way. Just a quick note before we begin, we're both speaking in English today, but it's not our first language. So if we stumble a bit along the way, please excuse us. Let's jump in. So what's the story behind MakoBox? How did the idea of such an innovative tool come to you and what inspired you to build it?
Okay, this one is very funny and interesting question because a couple of days ago I saw a BlackBerry story. So the started is like the same of MakoBox because when I met Luca Bongiorni 2 or 3 years ago and he showed me this one bruschetta board, is like, yes, is the first bruschetta. The first thing I thought was, what's about if I create something of modular, portable, easy to use? But the problem is, okay, I have no knowledge to how create product from zero. So the first MakoBox, the first prototype was this one, made by Lego. Yes, with here touchscreen, Raspberry Pi, some logic analyzer, battery, and some drawers. For example, for multimeter, tweezers, and this other drawer for USB hub to connect some to. Okay, it's beautiful.
It's something.
It's
like
something.
the stickers.
Yes. No, but the problem is, okay, now I need to improve my knowledge in 3D print, in PCB design. So the next prototype was this, that is like a box. So a lot of 3D print to support battery, keyboard, and inside the mini PC. So with the screen, touch screen, and basic software. But the problem of these two was that no modular and not easy to use. So to use these two prototypes, you need to be an expert and you need to buy a lot of tools, a lot of things, and you need to perform, to develop an app, a dedicated app to use all the functionalities. So it's not so easy. Matteo helped me to develop MakoBox because Matteo is a cybersecurity, Matteo Mandolini is a cybersecurity engineer and also a very good developer. So he wrote entire software of the MakoBox, and I continued to develop the hardware part and the 3D part. So the final is this one. So it's printed in SLA. Yeah, without monitor. This one is also the 3D case with PCB and internal. We can find PCB board and some other stuff like single board computing, battery, and other stuff. So finally, we arrived at all in one box like this with all stuff to perform penetration tests. So on IoT device, automotive, and industrial.
Why did you feel like a tool like the MakoBox was needed in the market actually? Was there a specific gap or pain point in hardware penetration testing that was not covered?
Yes, the problem is that a lot of company pay a lot of money to perform hardware penetration tests because it's very difficult to find an expert or to have an expert employee that perform hardware and software penetration tests. So the idea is, okay, we can create a box, a tool, a tablet to help company to perform all the basic and advanced analysis on hardware penetration tests. Because, for example, using MakoBox, you can simply perform all the basic analysis on the target, and you have all the information collect in the same project. So when you finish to analyze all the things, you can export the project, and you have all inside this project. So report, vulnerabilities, log extracted from URT, firmware from SPI, JTAG, etc. Photo, because you can search internal photo, schematics, and other documentation using FCC-ID, so using MakoBox. And I think the company can reduce the time to analyze the hardware part, and the expert can focus on the advanced penetration test, not on the repetitive part. So MakoBox is useful for the basic part plus the advanced part, because you can select the advanced option and perform the advanced attack and other stuff on the target.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your team and the company story?
Mindstorm was born 1 year ago, and because a lot of years ago I started to create a lot of tools, courses, I don't know, a lot of things. So the idea is, okay, I start to create something, to publish something open source, etc. And I remember that on LinkedIn, I contacted Angelo Tofalo, that was a former undersecretary of Ministry of Defense of the Italian state. And when I showed him all these things, he looked at me and, wow, okay, we need to open a company and to start to to do it in a good way. So with Matteo, I remember that I went a lot of time there with him, and we create this team. For now, we are 4: me, cybersecurity engineer and expert in hardware security, 3D design, PCB design; Matteo Mandolini, cybersecurity expert, penetration tester and developer; Angelo Tofalo, that is a former undersecretary of Ministry of Defense in Italian state; and the other is Alessio Villarosa, former undersecretary of Ministry of Economy and Finance in the Italian state. So each member of this company is useful for a different scope.
Impressive team.
Yeah. Thank you.
Next question. What were some of the biggest technical challenges that you faced during the development of the MakoBox?
A lot. a lot of challenges. For example, about the 3D part, you think that everything you want to add inside the MakoBox, every feature you want to change in the hardware, you need to change the 3D printing. So the 3D part you need to fit with all components. So for example, we add something new. Okay, we need to rechange the 3D design, reprint the 3D design, and be sure that all the parts fits with the printed part. About the hardware part is the same, because we use a lot of chip that works in independently way from the others, but need to communicate with the others. So it's not so easy, because for example, we need to manage the power consumption between different parts of the device. So the USB part, the CPU, the bruschetta outside, the monitor, and we need to calculate the right voltage to understand the battery level. So it's not so easy. And the same about of the software, because when you interact with the target, when you analyze target through the hardware point of view, the software is not so easy, because sometimes it's difficult to understand if the problem is in the software or is in the hardware. Because for example, sometimes we have a problem with the voltage, sometimes we have a problem with current, sometimes we have a problem with some specific functionalities. Because for example, when you extract firmware through XPI, you need to select the right chip, and MakoBox do it automatically. So in a software part, we need to manage the errors, the chip selection, the right chip selection, and it's not so easy, but works. For now, works.
You have so many different modules in it. You had lots of prototypes to achieve that, or
we worked on a lot of prototypes, because the first, when we create the first 3D part, this one inside the MakoBox is full of cables. So it's like, I don't know, 20 cables. So it's like a chaos. So it's not simple, and sometimes some cables don't work very well, sometimes other problem. So this is why we create internal PCB, dedicated PCB for the MakoBox. In fact, now inside the MakoBox there is only one PCB and battery, and this is why it's so easy. But we had a lot of problem with PCB, because it's not easy to find the right chip, okay, that manage all the power of the MakoBox, because this chip needs to communicate in the right way with the CPU and with all the components. For example, one thing is, meanwhile you are using MakoBox and the battery level is low, you connect the power supply, okay, but some chips, if you connect the power supply, reboot the MakoBox. So because imagine that you are working on some kind of device and the battery level is low, you plug in the power supply and reboot, and you lose everything. No, it's not normal. This is why a lot of chip working as power bank. So if you connect the external power for a small time, the voltage go down and then go up, and this causes a reboot of the software. So we need to find the right chip that manage this situation and avoid the reboot of the MakoBox. And this part, with this part, we spent a lot of time. Yeah, like months and months and money.
Yeah. So every time you had to make a PCB, test the chip, and see how it goes.
Yeah, and you need to design the PCB, print, wait, I don't know, like 10 days, 2 weeks, and test, And if don't work, you need to understand why. The problem is the time, because you need, and the money because you need to reorder and reorder and reorder. I have a lot of PCB that have a little problem under my drawer because we test a lot of time, a lot of time, because when you change something in PCB, you can distract other. So it's not easy. The most difficult part is about the to understand the level of the voltage of the battery, so to understand if is full or not, and to manage this function. So if you plug in the power supply, to avoid to reboot the MakoBox.
One of the features that stands out about the MakoBox is the use of AI for analyzing UART.
For now, it's a simple function in a UART functionality. So use ChatGPT API to do you a more readable, to give you a more readable output from the UART. So is easy to understand all the parts of the target. So for example, when you analyze a bootload through the UART with the device, is not so readable. So with AI, you can have a readable output and you can extract some interesting information, like important address of some parts of boot. So you can extract, for example, kernel, firmware, etc. Or for example, some information about the device, so the CPU, the clock, the memory, etc. So for now is this one, but we are working on very interesting feature with AI that I think that we will release at the end of this year, because it's like an AI chat in the project. So for example, when you create a new project and you start the analysis on target and you collect a lot of documentation, you can chat with AI to ask everything about the documentation, the logs, etc. So you can imagine, okay, which chip is used in this target, or like what about this pin? Because if you, for example, if you find some schematics using the FCCID, or you or in other way, you can ask for schematics, you can ask for everything you want. And I think that is very interesting, because you can extract information from hardware simply chatting with bot, with AI.
It will be still in ChatGPT, or you will have like a local?
Local is not possible for now, because it's too heavy. And is dangerous for now. But I don't know if we use ChatGPT or Gemini. We are working on the best way to introduce these things. But for now, AI is better to use in a cloud environment. But I think that, for example, some companies, if want to avoid to develop to use AI like ChatGPT or Gemini or other things, can use internal AI. So if they have some cloud, internal cloud, internal environment, and have internal AI, we can help them to introduce this feature.
When you say you will help them, is it part of the normal process that collaborating with the companies?
Because we offer a subscription. So with subscription, company can directly chat with us. So for example, they can ask us if they have any problem, if they want to improve something, or some specific feature, and depends on the feature. If the feature is not too complex, maybe is included in the subscription. If it's too complex, we can offer some separate consulting service. But the most important part of the subscription is the directly chat with us and the possibility to receive all new release. So, for example, when we release a new board, so like Bruschetta Pro, Bruschetta LA, we directly send the new board to the client, so to the customer.
Can you tell us a little bit more about like those boards? Like what is coming in the future?
We are working on a different new board, Bruschetta Pro and Bruschetta LA. Bruschetta Pro is the strong version of Bruschetta with some new feature, for example, like J-tabulator, so you can do a pin enumeration. So, for example, when you are interacting with the device, you can use this pin enumeration to understand the JTAG pin. So, simply connecting to this pin, you can understand the TMS, the TDI, TDO, etc. So, it's very simple. And Bruschetta LA introduced the logic analyzer functionalities. That is very interesting. But also we are working on new board that we release next year. And the first one is about Canvas, because Canvas introduced a new way to analyze, use MakoBox to analyze automotive system. Because the idea is, okay, you have one box, one mini computer dedicated to hardware security. So IoT, industrial, automotive. So every year we release new board and new functionalities. Bruschetta Pro and Bruschetta LA will come at the end of this year, yes. And if a company have a subscription, will receive it directly.
On the software side, what new software features or improvement you plan to add?
At the end of this year, we plan to introduce new features like chat with AI in the project and CV scanner, local scanner, because the idea is to help company that want to avoid to use cloud scanner to a report on the firmware. So you can use directly MakoBox and obtain a list of CV related to firmware. So it's like a static scanner, but is very useful for company to have a report with CV. It's not dynamic, but it's very interesting because if some company wants to avoid cloud, wants to avoid internet connection because the firmware is secret, I don't know, or something else, we can use internal scanner to analyze the firmware.
For the new firmware, etc., how they will be distributed?
We have a functionality to upgrade the firmware. So you simply click update, you receive a notification on MakoBox, and you simply click update and wait 1 minute. For some update or upgrade, you need to have a subscription with us.
So you're not selling just a device, but an evolving platform with subscriptions for updates and even free feature boards for subscribers. What's the reasoning behind this approach? How do you think it benefits the customers and the community?
Our idea is to create a tool, a standard tool for hardware penetration test. So, for example, how BARP is a standard for web application penetration test, MakoBox needs to be a standard for hardware penetration test. And I think that is very interesting for the community because you have an update, you have an upgrade every year. So if I don't know, if we found new technique, new kind of situation to analyze device, etc., we update MakoBox. And if you have a subscription, you receive the new board, new release, etc. So it's very interesting. And the interesting part is the project, because with the project you have all the information in a folder. So when meanwhile you are analyzing a target, you have in the same time a folder with all the information that you are extracting from the target. So it's very interesting because, okay, you imagine that I'm a company and I have a lot of target. I analyzed a lot of target during the year. So if I want to have some information on that target, I can take a folder, open the folder, and see all the logs, all the information, all the report, etc. So it's all organized. Or for example, you can use a MakoBox and chat with AI and ask for information on that target. So, for example, how is the difference from this version and this new version? We can fix this vulnerability. So this is the idea. It's very easy to use. Is point and click. So it's like very easy, but is also advanced. So if you want to use some specific command using terminal, you can also using terminal, and you can update and upload script. So you can write scripts, personal scripts, interact with the device. So I think it's a good way. And also, if you don't love to use this small screen, because this one is portable, you can also using MakoBox connecting him to a PC. So if you are under the same network, you can use MakoBox in a simple way, and it's easy because, for example, I have this MakoBox on other table connected to the target and interact with the target using my PC. So it's also a good way to use it.
The more I discover about the MakoBox, the more it's like it's so huge. It's a huge project. It's a huge tool. How do you think it will change how hardware pen testers are working?
Yeah, change everything. Because for now you need to do a lot of things. You need to have a lot of tools. Because, for example, for each device, you need to understand, for example, the chipset. You need to search some information online. So you need to search some FCC-ID information to do a photo, to read schematics. So you need the PC, you need the tool to analyze URT, JTAG, I2C, etc. And you need to set up all these things because you need to, I don't know, for example, install a new version of Flash ROM, install new version of other tools to interact with board, and it's not so easy. And I think that the company lose a lot of time to do it, but because you need every time an expert, and you pay a lot of money to this expert to improve quality, to study new feature, new kind of attack, etc. So I think that using MakoBox, you can simply wait the update and the information, the release, and the new way of analyze firmware. Because the idea is that in I don't know if this year or next year we'll release some courses about MakoBox, because now we have some published courses on hardware penetration tests, software penetration tests, and other kind of things. But the idea is to do one with MakoBox using it.
Will you also offer some consulting?
Yes, we offer also consulting. Yeah, because the idea is okay, we can support company with using MakoBox, perform penetration tests, etc. but if they have some problem with target, we can help them with consulting service, because is sometimes some target have a different way to interact. So for example, you need to remove some resistance, some resistor from the board. You need to do something of really difficult and not easy if you are not an expert. So for the basic thing, okay, you can do it, but if you need to modify something on the target, it's not so easy. So you need to do something new. So this is why we offer also this service.
Looking forward, where do you see MakoBox and hardware security testing in general? Where it's heading for the next few years?
Here I think that is really important to use MakoBox, because if you imagine that, for example, not here in Italy, but for example in America or in other parts of the world, a lot of people use automatic car, so self-driven car. You imagine that this car needs to talk with other sensors, traffic lights and other sensors. Imagine that this small sensor have a vulnerability, can create something of, I don't know, dangerous. So the idea is, okay, it's important to analyze every IoT devices, every automotive devices and industrial devices, because in the next future we will have all kind of things connected to each other, so car with sensor, etc. But the problem is that the small sensor is small and haven't the right power, the right encryption, the right protection that have, for example, a PC or automotive system. So I think that in the next 3-5 years, MakoBox will be leader in this one.
Finally, do you have any advice for aspiring hardware security researchers or product developers who wants to create tools for hardware security?
I have some advices. Yeah, remember that if you can do it, the machine can too. So you need to live well, and to do it, you need to simplify your life. So this is why I create product, because I want to avoid to spend my time and losing time to do repetitive things, etc. So this is why I create a lot of product. And the same is for security. If you want to create something interesting, I think that you can improve your knowledge on 3D print. For example, you can start using Tinkercad, that is an online and free tool on 3D, and is very easy. And you can use EasyEDA or KiCad for PCB design. And to start to do this thing, for example, you can read the other project. You can start to design something of simple. For example, turn on some LED, turn off some LED, and I don't know, using battery circuit or something of this. And if you can start with a small thing, and then you can try to connect, or maybe works, maybe not, but it's the right way to create some product.
So that's a wrap for today's interview. Big thanks to Giuseppe Compare for joining me and sharing the journey behind MakoBox. LAB401 is proud to be the exclusive worldwide distributor of the MakoBox. And we're also proud to be your Pentesting distributor, always with the best service and the best price. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe to LAB401, take care, and see you next time.